so like my little brother's like brown skin, mixed race. I'm light skin, mixed race. So I obviously like growing up, I was like, oh, you're not really mixed race. You're the same color as me, and all those like microaggressions and all those comments. And like with my father being absent, I never kind of had that like defense, but like, no, that's my father. Like
Mm.
he is black. He's from
The
Jamaica.
blackness, yeah,
Yeah,
you were
yeah. Like
lacking. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the very first episode of the Ogun Speaks podcast. I'm so excited with the guest that I have today, a Newport-native, one of our very own, I would say, Connor Allen.
come on, mate. As intros go, I'll take that. Newport-native, one and only.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was your first one, mate. I'm honored.
Yeah,
I will
of course,
take that,
bro, of
like
course.
a badge.
You got to start strong, and
Or you start low and work your way up. Like either or.
I always like my guests to kind of, introduce themselves rather than me do it for them. So tell us who you are, Connor.
Who am I? Question I'm still figuring out. I'm Connor Allen. I'm a multi-disciplinary artist, actor, writer, poet, lover of words, but yeah, artist at heart.
Nice. And how are you today?
I'm
What you
good,
think?
man. I'm good. I'm saying, it's January always finds like slow. Everyone's just, they're like creeping out of that like festive cocoon in there, and like, oh, the light shining on my eyes type thing, So I'm always like, it's slow. So I'm chilled,
Yeah, I
I'm
feel
good.
you. I feel you.
Yeah.
feel you.
How are you?
I'm good. Today was a busy day. I'm like the polar opposite to you. January for me, always hectic. I'm always releasing music in January. My birthday's in January. Today we filmed the music video in the morning, came here in the evening. So I like starting the year strong. I don't know. But someone was saying that actually the year is supposed to start in March, and like January and February are supposed to be times of rest, and that some Roman emperor moved it to January at some point. So maybe that explains the slowness. But me,
Blame those Romans, man.
I'm full steam ahead. And obviously this show is focused on the art. Myself and Connor are both artists. I've always said that I would always define myself as an artist before anything, before being a man, before being black, before being from Wales, wherever. I'm an artist first. If I was to write one word to define myself, that would be it. So I'm always gonna start by asking my guests, what is one piece of art that's had a profound effect on you?
You stumped me here, mate, because I'm like, I'm hitting mics now, getting flustered. That's tough, man, because I feel like I look at art in like different facets. So like the way I take in or consume theater is different, to, like music. Like, because like my Spotify is jammed. Like, I love when I'm in the car, when I'm on the walk, like I play music all the time, but it has a different effect, It can sit with you for longer, I feel, and you can come back to it. Whereas theaters, because it's live and it's like that's why I train, that's my baby. I'm always like that live element of like, you're on the edge of your seat. Anything can go
That
wrong.
one
Yeah,
experience.
because like you could do the same show every day for 10 days, but every show will be different. Something's gonna happen, whether that's like you bringing yourself like to the stage that day. You could have had the worst day of your life, but then you've got to like brush it off and go and perform. You could have the best day of your life, but still you've got to brush off and go and perform, And like when I look at it like that, I always look at like there's a Gary Oldman quote where he says like you could be a great photographer. Everyone thinks they're photographers nowadays, and they get their phone. Oh, it's a great photographer. Okay, like you've took one great picture. Now come to this specific location on this specific day under these specific circumstances and still take the great picture. It's that. Then it becomes like craft, and that's what I'm saying. It's like theater. I'm always like, how do you play Hamlet in like the depths of grief? When you're coming back off your honeymoon and you're elated, So I'm always like, art for me is like different consumption. So I'd have to like chop it and be like theater, literature, music,
Okay,
like
do it. Let's do it like that. Film. Let's go through the mediums.
It's
then.
different, man. Like, so I feel like when I look at theater, I'll cop it and I'll be like, there's two. I'll cop it. I can't pick one because they got different impacts on me. Like one was early on in my career. I wrote about it before, but it's a play called Misty by Arinze Kenny. And it was like a one person or one man show. He had like backing support, but it was like a one man show. And he was looking at like the gentrification of London through like what he called a virus, and he was like overtaking London. So that was like one story, and then it was another story about like this guy whose girlfriend dumped him, and like he wanted to take his sister to the zoo, right? And at the time, I was like I was trying to make my own work, but I was like, you know, getting really stuck on what do I call a character and how do I like what do I set it and I did a lot of work because my background in Park Prison in Bridgend. So I was there, and on my first day, I got back to my car, 45 minutes, I just burst into tears, and I was just writing notes on my phone about like, this is how I feel, because of obviously like, you know, I was so close to going to Park. So for me, it was like I was here and I was walking around looking at what my life could have been like. That I was like, I was so overwhelmed, I just had to write. And that became the basis of my first blog, which was I Am Enough, the impact of absent fathers, like looking at the impact that absent fathers have on so many kind of young men.
What year was that like? Were you doing that?
Mate, must have been about 20, I want to say like 2017.
Okay, quite a while now.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. It was wild. It has to be around then. And yeah, I did like a 3-part series. I am enough, you are enough, we are enough. And just looking at that impact of absent fathers, brotherhood, masculinity, just all of that, right? And then I kind of looked and I was like, all these people have like resonated with my blog. And people are reaching out and questioning, like, thank you so much for like telling your story. You've made me reevaluate my relationship with my daughter. And I'm like, bro, what?
Yeah,
You know, like this ain't for dads. Like dads are trash, man. Like, you know? So then like
was that the first time you ever put out creative work? Sorry to like.
Nah, it wasn't like
no.
It was the first time I put out blogs.
Like okay,
like personal kind of
medium,
like, blogs. And you know, I had like pictures of me and my mum on there and whatnot. You know, like it was a personal thing. But obviously I had to run it past her and it's like a lot of the blog is around the events that happened in my teenage years when like I kind of attacked my mum and whatnot, and that became the basis of The Making of a Monster, which was my theatrical work. So a lot of that, then I had to like, you know, be like, Mum, read this because I want to tell this story, but obviously my story, you know, I can't tell her story. That's for her to tell. Going back to the theatre, Misty. So obviously I had this idea then of being like, well, I love theatre and I love grime music and I want to create something where I don't quite know what. And I wrote like this awful first draft of a play, like a Chekhov version of like this father who's not there for his son and he comes back into his life and there's this like really dramatic scene, you know, awful, like absolute trash. And I watched Misty and I just remember sitting there and like this light bulb just went off in my head where I was like, oh my gosh. So it's written by Arinze Kenny. It's performed by Arinze Kenny. The character's called Arinze. Why don't I just call the character Connor and I can just create what I want to create, you know? So I was like, that's fine. So that's what I did. And then off the back of that, then I kind of came back and I literally wrote the first draft of The Making of a Monster in like 10 days. Wow. Yeah, it just unlocked that permission to be like, I'm doing this. I'm not breaking a fourth wall. I'm creating the world that I want to create as Arinze. You can do the same. And I literally came out and I was like, bleh, and I just splurged everything.
So before we like, talk about the kind of some of the other work that's inspired you, there's a lot said there to kind of go back to the blogging. And obviously for those I've seen Making of a Monster, obviously one of the major themes was the situation with you and your mum, right?
Yeah.
So like tell us about that and the way that's something that you've basically carried your whole life, both personally and in your creative work as well.
Yeah, so like growing up, like we were chatting off camera and like I like, you know, my brother, like, so like my little brother was like brown skin, mixed race. I'm light skin, mixed race. So I obviously like growing up, I was like, oh, you're not really mixed race, you're the same color as me. And all those like microaggressions and all those comments. And like with my father being absent, I never kind of had that like defense, but like, no, that's my father, you know, like he is black, he's from Jamaica.
The blackness,
you know?
you were lacking.
Like, it was there. And then obviously the first thing when you think of like complexion, you look at skin color. And obviously mine's light as hell. So, you know, like I was always this angry kid who just couldn't justify his existence.
Mm.
And obviously my father was absent, and the only person that could and did get the brunt of that was my mum, because she was the one that was there. And like, I'll always credit my mum, you know, I'm the man I am today because of my mum. But there was like, I just wanted my father. Like, I wanted that, like, man, I wanted masculinity in my life. And it just culminated in, like, you know, loads of cautions, loads of reprimands, loads of like me running away from home, warnings. And then one night, then me and my mum got into an argument, and it turned physical, and I attacked my mum. And then I fled, and I got arrested, and I spent the night in a cell, Maindy police station.
I was going to ask.
It was Maindy
maybe.
1 in Tang, mate. I was in Maindy police station, man. I always remember that day.
And how old were you?
Like 15.
So it's like
Yeah.
peak teenage years.
Peak teenage, man. Like, I always say the analogy now of, like, you know, all of us being like bottles of pop in it, and like, if you shake a bottle of pop, eventually it's going to explode in it. And like, now that I'm older, I understand, like, now you gotta like release that pressure, whether that's like going out for a pint with your friends, or whether that's going to the cinema to like let off some steam.
You're carrying so much tension. You
know, I'm like, all those gas bubbles, our emotions just colliding and just erupting. And now I'm older, I can understand. But at the time, it was like, you know, what's this new feeling and emotion because my father's broken another promise, you know? So I kind of had so much of that, and so much of like me like waiting on the bottom step for my father to turn up, and he never did. And yeah, it just so happened that and I can't never justify what I did, you know, but like, it was always my mum that got the brunt of that, because she was the one that was there, you know, she was the constant. I always say, like, it's like my mum was a Polaroid that was like, you know, I couldn't change that image, and it was dusty and it was old because she was always there. Whereas my father was this canvas, like, I could like paint him to be like, you know, he's got a crown,
projection.
Do you get me? And now I'm older, I'm just like, what the fuck is this? You know?
And like, again, we've talked a lot over the years, very similar experiences with that absentism, and like, you just, it's a void, and you project into that void, you cry into that void, you shout into that, like, all these different things, but still in that, it's like, it's a one-way street, isn't it? Like, it's just me having to, or proximity, it's a one-way street, but the negativities are being inflicted upon the people closest to me because I can't reach the person that I want to reach.
100%, man.
You know?
Like I said for years, I was walking around with this hot coal, wanting to throw it at my dad and burn him. But he was never there. So the only person who was actually burning was me, you know? So I had it there for years. I've been like, nah, it's my ego, man. I'm not letting it go. It's just burning through my hand. And eventually I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm not even seeing this guy, you know? Like, I got 3rd-degree burns because of this guy. And for what, you know? Is that analogy that I was like, I think I'm ready to put the coal down.
And do you think making of a monster was helpful in that like healing process in some ways?
A lot, yes and no.
Or by the time you made that, was there already some distance?
I had to, because I feel like, especially when you're making autobiographical work, I can never go in. I can never go in. Yeah, do you get me? Because it's just unsafe. And when I was working, Debris Stevenson, shout out Debris, incredible artist. She helped me with like the lyricism and like the grime elements of it, and really built me layer by layer to get to that place where I could like be rapping on stage, right? And we had so many conversations because she had done similar work with Poet in the Corner at the Royal Court. And she was like, it's like a trauma, or like our past experiences, they're like shoe boxes, right? But they got sticks of dynamite in there. So obviously if I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk to you about my daddy issues, you know, like I open up that box on stage, you're going to explode, right? So like, you've got to take time to really be like, do you know what? I'm going to cut that blue wire. It hasn't exploded, but then I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna go off with my girl for a little bit, you know, go on holiday. Might go for a little chill with the boys, you know. Like, I'm gonna go live life for a little bit, and I'll come back, and then I'm gonna cut that red wire, you know. And so like that takes time to get to that place where it's like, actually, I've cut all those wires and it's fine, catch. And then like, you know, like it's safe to be like, I can tell this story without me being in floods of tears, without then the audience feeling like, what the hell is going on, you know? It works a lot better. So by the time I made The Making of a Monster, I was so far removed from that. Spoiler, I think the only thing for me was I had put my nan was in Making of a Monster, like her voice. And and my nan had passed, like, I buried my nan like 2 weeks before I went into rehearsals.
Wow.
So like that was more kind of being like,
yeah.
so I had a drama therapist on the show, and she was like, I will put, she's like, I have the power, I will pull that scene. Like, and it's basically my nan retelling the night that my granddad came to get me from prison. Well, from the jail cell, like not from prison. And I never knew, like only until years later, that like I had no one to ring. So obviously, when I got my one phone call, I could only ring. I knew my nan's number. The only numbers I knew were my nan's and my mum's. I couldn't ring my mum, so I was like, "Nan, I don't know if you've spoken to mum." And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "But I've fucked up. Like I've done really." Yeah, I was like, I don't know what to do." She's like, "We'll come and get you. It's fine." So I spent the night in the cell, and then during that night, my nan and granddad had like this mad conversation around the kitchen table. And my nan,
What with you? You were there?
no, I wasn't there. That's what I
okay.
found out years later. And my nan said it was one of the only times that my granddad raised his voice.
Wow.
And he was like, "No, Janet, he needs a man in his life, so I'm going to go and get him." And he came down, man. He came down, got me. And I always remember, like, he passed recently, man. God rest his soul, because like he was the epitome of strength. And he literally, I got into the car, and he just turned to me and he said, "If you ever lay a finger on my daughter again, you'll have me to deal with." And just adjusted his mirror and just drove off. And at the time, I was like, "Oh, shut up, old man." You know, like, but then I'm thinking, mate, you've just got into a car as like this 70-year-old man who's clearly not like, you know, in his younger days, with this volatile 15-year-old who just attacked your daughter.
Yeah, what a contrast.
And you get me? And you just confront him and like, "I don't care. You can do that. Like, don't ever lay a finger on my daughter." And from that day, I was like, "You are one of the most courageous men I've ever met," you know? Wow. So to loop it then back, because that was a very long segment.
Important though.
Yeah. So then when I finally came to make a Making of a Monster, for me, it was like, I'm ready to tell this story. So it wasn't, there was a lot of healing in it, but I definitely wasn't holding that cold, because I'd cut the wires of the box, you know?
Yeah. And
so
I feel the same as well. I feel like with creative work, you need a level of like, of distance, like emotional distance. I can't put it out when it's still raw. I need to like process it and then go back with just a little bit, like too much distance and you might not be able to capture the emotion fully again. But just enough, and it's like, I can tap into it, but it don't hurt. Yeah.
So when I was making the Making of a Monster, with Bria, my drama therapist, she was like, "Show your scars, not your scabs."
Yeah.
That's perfect. You know, and it was that. And she was like, "Because your nan's not even a scab. Your nan's a fresh bullet wound, Connor. Your father's a scar, you know, you can show those. But my nan, literally, like, I buried like 2 weeks, like, you know."
Saying I didn't even know.
And, no, because like, no one, there you go, like, exclusive. But I've never.
Sorry, that was funny.
Nah, but like, I've never spoke about it. But then when I look back at it now, and I'm like, yeah, that was wild. And there was some nights I'd be like, you know, looking up, be like, "Thanks, Nan." And like, I'd proper take it in. And there's other nights I'd be like, "Thanks, Nan." And then just carry on with the, you know? Because it just the reality of it hit, you know? So I feel like when making that was probably more hard than me telling a story about my father, you know? Because it was more recent.
Makes sense. And what was the second piece of theater that you feel had a
second piece of theater? I'll round it up now, you know? We won't have as long of an answer. It was called "For Black Boys Who Have Considered Suicide When the Hue Gets Too Heavy" by Ryan Calais Cameron, and abbreviated to "For Black Boys." And it was basically about these 6 black youths who are in basically like group therapy, and they're just talking about what it means to be a black man or a black young man in Britain today. And it was like fundamentally the most important show I think I've ever seen in my life, because it felt like Ryan, the writer, had like taken this microscopic rocket ship, traveled up through like my ear, through my synapses up to my brain, and just extracted my thoughts and just laid them bare. And there's this character called Onyx, and he has like this, like he's reliving this traumatic event in his life, and then he's like, "Why don't they love me?" And all the boys come over and hug him, and he's like, "Do you ever think as black boys we're made to give more love than we can ever receive?" And I was like, I remember like holding my friend, like we were sat there, and I was just like, and my friend just grabbed my hand, and she was like, "It's okay, Con." And it's the only show that I've ever walked out, because they were like, you know, we deal with a lot of traumatic events. Like, we have walkout policies. So if you need 5, you can go out.
Wow,
It's the only show
you
that
had to
I've
step
ever,
out.
I had to step out and just breathe.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's like, I just forgot to breathe.
Yeah,
I was just like so choked. I was like, you just got to catch your breath. And I was like, it resonated in a frequency that I was like, I feel seen.
Yeah.
And because I feel seen, I feel like I'm not alone. And I feel like art in any capacity is the greatest tool for us understanding that we're not alone in this universe.
Facts.
Because it shows empathy, and empathy is the greatest creative tool that connects us, because you don't have to be this light-skinned mixed race kid from Newport. But when I talk about my story, you start to understand, oh, he was too white for his black friends, but too black for his white friends. And he was always like, where do I fit in? But I'm a new mum, and I don't know where I fit in this world.
Yeah,
now. Or
it's still a universality.
I'm a single dad. And, like, it's that, like, where do I belong is the universal question that, like, so many of us go through in our life. It just so happens that I'm trying to answer that question through my experience. And when I look at, like, for black boys, it was like, oh my gosh, like that, I feel like that so much that, like, I'm always like, why do I love so deeply? But I feel like I never get that back. And just hearing it on stage back at me, I was like, oh, I'm not crazy. Like, there's other people that feel that way. Oh my gosh, So then when I talk more about it now, people are like, well, yeah, I feel that, And I'm like, isn't it mad? You know?
Yeah.
So those 2 shows for me, like, changed my life. Well, one changed my career and one changed my life.
That's
so
a good.
I feel like I have to have them both.
Wow.
I can't have one without the other.
And for black boys, right? That's why it's abbreviated to. Obviously, therapy is a big theme in that. And we, again, over the years off camera, have spoken a lot about therapy. I am personally a massive, massive advocate for therapy. Yeah. I've been with my current therapist 5 years now. And yeah, some of the things like I've gone through, I can't even imagine not having him there. I think at first it was more like I needed the therapy. It ended up being more like this person is a witness to what I'm experiencing and a sounding board. And again, almost like that reflective relationship where he's able to reflect on me, I'm able to reflect on him. And there was this mutuality. I know obviously from personal conversations that same with you. So how has your like experiences been with therapy over the years? I think it's important to talk about, and not even in a cliche way, not in a like we never talk about mental health. But
we can't talk about that.
Yeah, but I'm like, for real, I've also weirdly never felt uncomfortable about I'm very open about it.
Advocate. Like, even I feel like therapy should be like at least 5 free sessions on the NHS.
100. How many times have I said
person, that? Like, yeah, all the time. Because I'm like, you understand so much, not just about yourself and the way that you place in the world, but you understand so much about society just from then really just dissecting who you are and where you sit in the world. So I feel like for me, I got to a point where I needed, like, it wasn't even like I wanted to go. I needed to go to therapy because I just wasn't well. Like, I can look back now and understand. I was like, I wasn't in
That's
a good
also
place.
a crazy experience in retrospect, because there's times where, not that I thought that I wasn't, but like you don't realize quite how bad it is until you've gone on that journey and look back, and I'm like, what, like, yo, I was not okay.
I really wasn't good, and that's what I was saying, man. I'm like, I can't exactly remember what. I probably can if I really dissect it, but I just got to this place where I was like, and I had a therapist beforehand, and then it just wasn't. It was a white therapist, and it just didn't
connect.
Just didn't. But I do, and again, I advocate for, like, you have to find the right therapist.
It's like anything,
It's like that relationship, 100%. You have to find the right one. Whereas, like, my current therapist now, I've been with, probably similar, about 5 years, 6 years, and like, I think we've gone past that.
Exactly, it reaches a different point.
It's my girl said the other day, she was like, you think your therapist knows you better than me? And I was like, 100%. Are you crazy? I was
100%.
like, what?
That's
Yes.
the only arena in which I bear my whole entire unfiltered, unadulterated soul.
Mate, I'm like Maximus and Gladiator
Yeah,
in there.
yeah,
Like, get me,
like-
I'm sat in that chair. I'm like, I'm 100%. I
Yeah,
was like,
like-
I can, and it's not. I said there will obviously, or hopefully, there would come a point in our lives where, yes, like you hopefully would know me the same, but it's just a different
It's
relationship,
different.
isn't
It's
it?
different.
So I'm like, you can't.
It's
yeah.
so different. It's like it's actually not comparable.
Yeah, you can't. It's like it's a different relationship and it's a different space that you know. So I was like, I was like,
It's a different type of attachment. You
Yeah,
know? That's what it is. Yeah,
100%.
it's a different type. The attachment is what KLAT, you know, like I can't get that close to you because there's also you're in that. Whereas a
Yeah.
therapist is more dispassionate. You know, there's a bit of a distance.
yeah.
Which allows for
But I
more.
also like I love my therapist because like he pushes me
Yeah.
and he gives me pushback,
Mm.
and I need that. You know,
Yeah,
like,
most human beings don't really experience challenge on a day to day. Like that's another good. Like they will challenge you, you know,
Yeah.
and it makes you really think through, you know, because you'll say something. Why? What makes you think like that?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like
And it's
simple stuff.
Bruh.
You're just there thinking, oh,
don't be giving me like, you know, and part of me is always like, you know why?
Yeah.
Don't you get me? It's like, yeah.
It's
So
true.
I feel, but I as I said to you like years back, in it, it's like the work is not in that hour.
Yeah, of course.
It's in between sessions.
Yeah.
That's when you start to implement all that talking and all that like implementation is there. It's in that gap.
Yeah.
Many people think that you just go and I'm just going to blurge it all out and then I'm fine. And then I'll go about my life until the next time, you know, and it's like, yeah, but you're not, you know, like you've actually got to be putting in the steps, you know, to get there. So I've always been I'm very transparent, a big advocate for therapy, especially for men and men of color, because I feel like there is this massive taboo.
There is
so
and
many. Of my
I
family.
generally don't understand why. It's a generational thing as well,
Yeah.
because I've seen with the older generation is just there's so much shame attached to admitting you need that kind of help.
Yeah.
And I've just never felt that shame out. But I think it's because we grew up in an era where it has become a lot more acceptable to talk about your issues, your woes. So there's a much bigger like societal acceptance of it. Obviously, when my mum was growing up, etc., it wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get your head down and get on with it, man. What was therapy? You feel me? So
Yeah, 100%.
I do hear it. But I think another common misconception, or when I speak to people, is I feel like people who think or who are deeply self-aware always think they don't need it because they're like, what's a therapist going to tell me that I don't already
I
know?
don't know myself.
And I kind of had a bit of that. I was like, oh, why am I going to therapy, man? Like, I know myself more than anyone else. But again, it doesn't really work like that. And there's still a way that they can reframe things that you might know, but you've definitely not made that particular connection.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
or thought of it quite in that way, or understood the associations of different things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was really helpful for me.
No,
Yeah.
I preach that. It's looking at, for me, a different side of the coin instead of going through life thinking I've got like Harvey Dent's like two-headed coin.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, actually no, it is tails. Like that's insane. I've never actually flipped and looked at that. You know, something just as simple as that. Being like, okay, but have you looked at it from this angle? No. Why would I look at it
Exactly.
from that? You
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it's. Yeah, I could go on record, be like, therapy saved my life, you know, like 100%. And
that's exactly what I wrote in my poetry collection.
Yeah.
Literally, like it really did.
but bro, your poetry collection was like, I said that at the time of like, when you gave me that chance to read it, and I was like, low key, like you bear so much.
I know.
From one person that is like very used to just bearing myself and my work, I felt that, you know. So there were parts of like Slingshot where I was like, like, you know, it's like I felt, I was like, oh, Andrew, man. And there were times I was like, mate, fuck that. I wish I wrote that, you know, like there were certain lines in there. I was like, bro,
I had to go to a different depth to write that, man. But
bet.
like, it's what I thank Slingshot for my creative renaissance. I think if I didn't write Slingshot, I wouldn't have been able to do like anything I've done subsequently. That level of vulnerability, opening the collection with Suicide Note was like that was the one I was really
that's insane.
going back and forward,
honestly.
because I was like, this is beyond like for the people not in like my closest inner circle, this is gonna come out of like nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, and even the stuff about me, I wasn't so nervous about, but there's like, it's when there's other people, you know, like it's a poem that my mum's involved in, there's a poem that my little sister's involved in, and that is like also like, you never know how people are gonna respond.
React.
Yeah.
Did you show them before?
Nah, cause mom like
bro.
no, literally. I didn't other than my editor, shout out Jeanette, and I think Ms. read a few. I kept, that's also one of the works I kept closest, just because like, it was like, it's just so unbelievably painfully vulnerable that until I felt like I was ready to just, as you said, be like, okay, here you go. And I had to write it as if no one was gonna read it. That's the only way I had to get in my head. Like, I have to write this as if genuinely it's like me and it's diary entries and no one in the world is gonna read this. And it was the only way I was able to get to that depth. As well as, don't do drugs, kids, but heavy psychedelics as well. I'm not gonna lie, but it was healing. That's what. As for me, it was healing in that. It was healing in that. Like I cried, I laughed. Like times I was just in my apartment on my own writing, like reading some lines, like laughing to myself. Like it was literally like I lived like 3 lives writing that collection. Bro. So. And it wasn't even that long. There's only 37 poems. I don't know how many poems is in Dominoes?
Oh, bro. Yeah, no, you got, you're putting me on a spot there, bro. I don't even. Yeah, it's
like over 60, I'm sure.
It might be. It's 4 chapters, so yeah, it's got to be.
And how was that, man? Talk to us about Dominoes, which I really enjoyed. I had never read, like, I had a strange, like, for a poet, I never, beyond the poets I read in school, and there's a few I liked. I really liked, I liked Ted Hughes. I liked Langston Hughes. Yeah. I liked Burroughs. I liked the kind of weird stream of consciousness poets.
That's nice.
But I never really read much. So when I read Dominoes, I was just like, wow, again, it felt like this. And that's what I liked about it. It felt like you were just having a chat with me. And I really liked that there was a level, it was like so personal in the way that felt like, yeah, authentic. And I know that's like a buzzword, not authentic, but it was really like, Connor's just sat here telling me this. And I think because I also, with the pictures as well, because I also know about the area a little bit, there was also that relatability. Like, bro, I know what this is. I know Hammond Drive. Like, I was around the corner. Like,
yeah, I had to. Like, I feel like when I wrote that, I had to be like, I have to share Hammond Drive. Like, that's my estate. Like, it forged me. So, like, I am, a lot of Connor is because of Hammond Drive and the community that we are and the houses and the love that was there, you know? But then it's also like, you know, like, Beechwood Park, bro. You know, like,
bro, too many days in Beechwood Park, bro.
See, like, for those people that know Beechwood Park will know Beechwood Park, yeah? You know? So when I wrote that poem, there were people like, what goes on at Beechwood Park? And then these other people would be like, yeah, we know what's up. Do you get me? Or they're like reminiscing on that time that like they took so-and-so at Beechwood Park, right? Yeah. So I had, one of my friends said to me, he's another poet, and I really respect him as well, but he was like, what's great about Dominoes is that you've got the best of both. You've got poems that you can perform and poems that are just solely for reading. So
was that intentional?
No.
Like, just how it manifested.
I didn't look at it like that. But there are certain, like Remove the Knot, for example, I don't perform that. That's like literally a visual poem. Yeah. You remove that knot. But it's referenced then to earlier on in the collection where I'm like, there's a knot in my chest. There's this constant knot in my chest about not being enough. But if I remove the knot, then it's not like I am not black enough. I am not good enough. It's like I am black enough. I am good, you know? So that's solely to be read. I can't really perform that poetry.
It won't have the same impact, yeah.
But quite similar, I think Dominoes was like this culmination of like a solid 6-7 years of just like thoughts and
you had all these disparate notes on your phone,
notes on my phone. Like I was on date night with my girl the other day, and I was like, she was like, look at my phone. She goes, why have you got 721 notes? And I was like,
my life.
Scroll down to that first note, and that's like 2009. Like, are you wild? Like, you know, it was all of that. You know, she's got like 37 or something. So I was like, So I feel like when I was making it, a lot of it was just coming. It was probably one of the easiest things I've ever written.
You just had to give form to what you already had in a sense.
I didn't want it to be like this. Because I was really conscious about like, well, I've got 2 collections. So I've got Miracles, which is for kids, being Children's Laureate, and I've got Dominoes. But for me, Miracles is the flex, because then I can be like, but I've got my structure. You've got your rhyming couplets. You've got your A, B, C, D, like that was structure.
The form,
do you get me? I can do that. but I can also go over here and do this. So what I loved then about dominoes, I was like, I was just free in that. I didn't want to be like, I'm going to do structure, but then like, you know, remove the not to list poem. That's structure, you know, like it's there.
Intuitive structure.
Yeah. But I'm just like,
I'm the same. Like,
for
I'm going to write it like this. Like,
Yeah.
just
You
because
know,
they told me to.
Yeah. I always question structure, always. But I also question poetry. And I'm like, well, what is poetry if not just a creative expression? If I asked you, oh, how are you feeling? Give me like one sentence. Who's to say that's not poetry? You know, so yeah, dominoes, it was easy for me, but it was a lot like that last poem, Forgiveness, is like, it's all linked, you know, like it's all, I always say like dominoes was a cousin of the making of a monster.
Yeah.
But then there's like Easter eggs within dominoes, which obviously now that I'm making the sequel, I'm making Forgiveness of a Monster. Well, the last poem in like dominoes is Forgiveness. Now we're making Forgiveness, you know, so it's like, it's all there interlit, like this whole world I've created has kind of come, from that, you know, so yeah.
And moving on to something, I'm actually mad. I'm smiling just thinking about it.
Go on.
18 months ago, I sat with Connor in the pub. Yeah, it was about 18 months ago, talking about all sorts, as we do. But children came up. And that time I was thinking, oh, bro, man, I'm not really sure about having kids, you know? And I've always flipped and flapped in my life because I actually feel I would be a great father. And I think a lot of people maybe that had absent fathers, probably there's something about having a point to prove. I don't want to be like him. I definitely can't deny that. But it's also like, I know I'm very different. And I know like if I'm going to be a father, I would do it properly like anything else in my life. And we were both having like a crisis of faith about that. And fast forward,
and Connor is now a dad.
I know, and it's like mad exciting, bro. Like fatherhood, man. Tell me about being a father. The greatest form of creation.
What do I know? So it's different. It's a different chapter. Again, I talk about chapters constantly, but it's a different chapter. And I like going back to what you said then about like, oh, I don't know, like if I'd be good or this, that. There was an amazing quote that I come across like early on in my missus' pregnancy, and it was like, becoming a parent magnifies your flaws because for the first time in your life, your actions have consequences, not just on you. So child's now been born, right? Now, in the face of this magnification, some people abandon their kids. Other people pass down their trauma onto their kids. And other people confront their trauma, overcome it for the betterment of their kids. What parent are you going to be? And that quote was like, oh, wow. You know, like, and again, going back to therapy, like I've been in therapy for so long and I've made progress, you know, but then becoming a father when you've never had a father, it's different, you know? So then it's like, it's that of like, I just remember like she was born and I got a girl. She was born and like my missus had a C-section. So like she was like, you know, getting like recovery and whatnot. And because our baby was like small, she was in an incubator. And I remember looking down at her. And my missus has always said, she's like, she's a perfectionist. Now, I'm not. I'm always like, there's no such thing as perfection. Like, you know, like our beauty lies in our imperfections, which is why I love kintsugi so much, you know, like the Japanese art of broken pottery, you know, you find the beauty in the imperfections. And I just remember it was just me and my little baby. And I just remember slowly looking down and in my head being like, fuck, your mum's right. You know, like in this moment, regardless of like when you get older, but in this moment, you're the closest thing to perfection I've ever seen in my life because you're pure life. You've just been born and you're there and you're not corrupt by, you know, like consumerism or social media or technology. Like you're just you in your rawest form. You're perfect. And obviously then she's going to grow up and she will get influenced by stuff and she will get attitude and, you know, like that's all going to come. I'm not saying she'll get less perfect, but in that moment, and I said to her mum, I was like, you might be right. She made me believe in perfection for that moment in time, you know, and it's the most beautiful joy ever just to look and be like, wow, like the amount of times I look at my partner, I'm just like, we created that, man. You know, and like she's here like, getting a personality and she's got like dimples in her cheek now and she's smiling and she's watching, you know, like I thought I would feel angry like my father was never around. But then going back to like the empathy and like the hot coal, I was like, but I just feel empathy for you. Like you missed out on all of that. I get to wake up and like, it was beautiful over Christmas. She had like sleepovers with her nanas and stuff. And the excitement, me and her mum would walk through the door and she's like, you know, she's smiling because like mum and dad are home and they come to pick me, you know, you missed out on all of that. And I just feel sorry for you, you know? So I feel like the older that I've gotten and now walking into fatherhood, I can walk in with empathy for my father because you've missed all of that. And then like, again, sorry, man, I'm ranting now, but it's like you go back and I was quite similar. I was like, I'm going to prove I'm a better dad. You know, but that's the wrong basis to have a child, you know?
Definitely.
So it's like, why am I then, and for what? Because I could be like, I'm going to prove I'm a better dad than you, but something clicked, man, because my father's got bare kids. and I was just like, actually, do you know what? It's like, I know some of my siblings, and to them, he was a great dad. He just wasn't to me, you know? And it's that then, that understanding of being like, oh, no, you know how to be a father. You are a good dad to them.
Yeah.
You were just never that to me. And it's that. So it's like, well, actually, how can I judge you, or how can I be angry towards someone who just wasn't there? You just didn't show up for me, you know?
It's not the whole picture of
you know? Because then to them, you're a great dad, and that's fine. But so I feel like then when I look at like how I parent and how I become a dad, I'm just like, but all I ever wanted was just time, like, you know, to push me on a swing or to, you know, come and watch a rugby game with me, or you know, like just time. That's literally all I want. So actually, and I'm not saying it's just that, you know, or just give your daughter time, you know, but having that time is so precious because then it's like I'm understanding you and you're understanding me, and we can understand this world together. And like that's the beauty of it, that I get to like walk around with you and she's experiencing everything for the first time. So I get to see those smile when she sees something that she's fascinated on, and she's processing everything. I get to see that, you know, and it just warms my heart, man. It's honestly like, I know people say I was life changing, but like, I just feel like there was a door behind me, and then there was that door for fatherhood, and I didn't even look back. I was literally like, I'm just here. I will step right in now, and I'm there.
And maybe it's the artist in me, but how do you see it affecting your artistry moving forward?
Everyone keeps asking me.
Yeah, because I'm always excited. It's always like, you can almost see sometimes with artists, like I'll use musicians as an example. Like I love hearing rappers that rap about their kids, you know, like I think it's cool. And like, you can see when people are inspired or people like write a letter to their child, and it's such a different form of inspiration to draw from.
Oh, 100%, man. Like Tupac's letter to my unborn child. You know, like I always remember listening to that growing up, and I was like, damn, man, like, you know, I was like, has he got kids? You know, I was like, where's my letter, man? I was like, I'd love for my dad to write me a letter. But it is that. And I feel like my art will, or has, it's just matured, you know? It's like even that quote, like that will inform my next, like not forgiveness of a monster, but like my next, like the end of that trilogy, you know? Because I've always pictured the monster series as a trilogy. So like when I eventually get around to making the third and final piece of that trilogy, that quote will be front and center. It will be about what does it mean to be a father, and it's about fatherhood. And like we never, like I grew up on a estate with single mums, so they weren't like, fathers were just like this
abstract,
this just abstract void, this absence that just wasn't there. And it's like, but actually, what is the true meaning of masculinity? What is the true meaning of being a man? Was to show up, regardless of your relationship with your partner, where like you show up, you know. And we came from this estate of like, you know, single mums and broken homes, but not one, like very rarely was I around. I think the only, like my next door neighbor, Jody, he, like I'll always say he's my dad. Anyone could be a father, it takes someone special to be a dad. Like Jody next door, he was my dad. And he always, like, still to this day, he's pops. And like, I will grow up and like Katie, my daughter, she will be like, I'll be like, that's pops. Because he showed up. Like he taught me how to shave, you know, like he cracked up my first beer. Like it was
those moments.
Yeah, it was those moments that he gave me the time that my father never did, you know? So like, yeah, my father is my father, and he's biologically like makes up 50% of my DNA, but Jody is my pops. Like he's my dad. And it's that. It's like as much as I love him, I never want my daughter to then be like, oh, Connor's my father, you know?
Yeah.
No, like, he's my dad, you know? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
that. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that shift and that difference. It just, you see the world different. Because I'm like I always preach, like, my children's collection miracles. Like, every child's every person, you're a miracle. There's like no one like you, you know? Like, there might be 10,000 Andrew Ogans in the world, like on planet Earth. There's only one you know, like, thinks the way you think, and it's got the tattoos the way you got them, and dresses. You're like, you're you, one of one. And I always preach that, and I truly believe in that. But having her, I was like, you are a miracle. Like, you were made from like sperm and an egg, and you've just extrapolated cells upon cells to then grow when you're now like this person with like fingernails and a heart that beats. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And it's beautiful. But
And I think to end on, I think going back now, we've talked about so much in this full circle, you being a father. What would, like, that Connor in the cell that night at 15, like, I have to go back there. Like, what would you tell him? Like, what would you say to him, knowing everything you know now?
I just don't even think that, like,
you think he would have listened to you?
No, fuck it. No chance, mate. Nah, like, but I've said that before, like, in talk, like, there's no way, he was too volatile.
No one could get through it. Yeah,
like, no one could penetrate that. I probably feel like the only person that could was his father, but he was never there, you know? So it was like, I don't even think I wouldn't even say nothing about being a father or nothing. I would just be like, I know you don't believe me right now, but I promise you, it will get better. And I feel like sometimes I look at my life. It's like J. Cole rapping from death backwards, and it's like sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, that's actually happened. Like, you know, like, that's my life. And I feel like to go from the depths of being like, I'm on the verge of being thrown into park prison for 2 years, and then I would have gone to an adult prison when I was 18, to then being like a national laureate of a country and an award-winning artist. You know, it's gone full circle. So I feel like if I was to go back and say, it would just be like, I promise you, you feel like you are the most worthless piece of shit on this earth right now. One day, you are going to inspire so many people, but just love yourself. I feel like he had so much anger towards the world and towards himself that he never loved himself. And that caused him to do like so much destructive stuff, you know? And it's like, Connor, just love yourself, man, because you're a miracle, you know? So it's like, that's one thing I will ever distill in my daughter, would be like, just love yourself. Like, you're loved. Mommy and daddy love you more than anything, but love you for you, because
that's to stem from there. Really.
Because you're the most precious thing on this earth to us, and you should be, you know, like, it starts with you, you know, like, just be you. Love yourself.
And I think what a place to end it on, innit? Thank you, Connor, man. No, it's been a pleasure, man, and I'm sure we'll have many more of these conversations, man.
Thank you for having me as your first guest.
All good, man.
Honored, man.
Thank you, guys, and hope you enjoyed the first episode of Ogun Speaks.